Right, thanks very much. Welcome to TVCA Overview and Scrutiny Committee. We've got any apologies for absence?
Reevy, Councillor Young, Councillor Steve Nelson. However, Councillor Pauline Beale is substituting on his behalf.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest? Thank you. Move to the minutes of the previous minutes on the 9th of April and the 14th of May. Any issues? No? Can we approve to record? Move. Thank you. We'll move on to the best value notice improvement plan. I'll pass you over to Tom.
Thank you, Chair. So obviously you've got the report in the pack. Just to say a few words of context. So I think the first thing to say, which I think we said when we last met, is that we fully accept the best value notice and we recognise that as an organisation we need to improve. The first thing we want you to do is obviously listen and get feedback from all our committees, including this one. So as you know, we held a series of workshops, of which we held one with yourselves, and we used the Local Government Association to help facilitate those. I think that's given us a really clear understanding of what the frustrations were, where people feel like we need to improve, and we've overlaid the feedback we got from all of those workshops. There were 7 in total, with our own self-reflections, and all of that information and intelligence has been used to shape the plan, and I think the plan is much stronger because of that. We want to, when we take the report to Cabinet, we want to include all of the readouts from the workshops, which are all anonymised, but I think it's really important that people can see what was said and then they can follow that trace through to see how it shaped the plan. So that's the plan in terms of the report we take to Cabinet. In terms of the plan itself, it's really the blueprint for how we drive those improvements, and we're absolutely striving to be better, and we're striving for organisational excellence, and we see it very much as an opportunity for a reset, which I think hopefully came across in terms of the way we facilitated the workshops. In terms of the plan itself, we set it out with a statement of understanding. There's then the insights from the engagement sessions I've just touched upon, and then our own self-assessment. We've then set out our ambition and a series of priorities, which you can see in the plan. So the 5 priorities we set out there are: rebuild trust and shared ownership across the combined authority, strengthen governance, oversight and accountability, build a high-performing organisation with a strong operating model, embed a culture of continuous improvement and openness, deliver strategic clarity, long-term planning, and prepare for the next phase of devolution. We've then got an action plan, so you'll see under each of those priorities there's a series of actions. In terms of the detailed action plan, we're going to take that to Cabinet, so that's basically fleshing out those actions, and it'll give more detail in terms of the owners, the timeframes, and the milestones that we need to hit in order to achieve those actions. So that'll all be wrapped up in the report to Cabinet. So we brought the report here today and the plan, so what we're seeking from the committee is endorsement of the plan ahead of it being presented to Cabinet. So it's gone to our other 2 statutory committees as well, Transport Committee and Audit and Governance, earlier in the week. There's still an opportunity for the committee to have any views to help shape the final plan before it does go forward to Cabinet. And then the second aspect of the report is really around working with the committee to make sure that your role in terms of driving that improvement and holding us to account is very clear. So you'll see in the report we've set out that we would propose that we have a session with the committee in advance of your meeting in September, where we absolutely make sure that we build this into your work plan and that you've got a really strong role in terms of holding us to account for delivering against the plan. Happy to take any comments, questions, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody got any comments or questions on what we see? Councillor Branson.
Thank you, Chair. I think the most important thing from my point of view is what arrangements are we making for reporting back to the Scrutiny Committee what the actions are of organisations like T-Sport, for example, because that was one of our major concerns, the fact that we weren't getting information, it was all being excluded as commercially sensitive. It's not totally clear exactly what information we will get, but I would be grateful if anybody could outline specifically what information will be provided to the Scrutiny Committee so that we can effectively monitor the spending of public funds. Thank you.
there's probably 2 points there, Councillor Branson. So in terms of the improvement plan itself, obviously you'll see there's a series of actions. I think there's about 45 in total, and we're going to produce a monthly progress report against all of those actions that we will have as a standing item on the Cabinet agenda. We're going to make that progress report public as well, and obviously I suspect that the improvement plan will be a standing item on this committee as well. In terms of your questions around what information you get around assessing value for money, I guess that's dependent on the particular topic and projects we're looking at. So obviously this is about the improvement plan. In terms of your wider work programme around whether you want to look at transport skills or anything else, obviously we need to consider each of those items in the round and consider what information you need to be able to scrutinise that issue properly.
Put your phone, Emma.
I think, am I correct in understanding your question was around STDC and the Tees joint venture?
It is, yes. It's slightly wider than just transport.
Yeah, I thought so. In terms of this committee's scrutinising of Mayoral Development Corporation, you'll be aware that the government has recently released some guidance. So as part of some of the governance actions under the best value notice, what we're going to propose is an action plan for this committee and how this committee addresses its own journey around governance and scrutiny, and that guidance will be part of it. So what we're doing at the moment is looking at sort of prioritisation of all of the governance actions under the best value notice and the organisational improvement plan, and what we'd probably propose is a sort of improvement plan for ONS, and on that will be that guidance to make sure that you understand the guidance and that you're able to effectively scrutinise the extent that the law allows you to do so.
Yeah, if I can come back on that, basically, obviously, the most important thing is that it's proactive. The danger is, of course, we don't get information, so we don't ask questions.
Yep.
What we really need to do is have sufficient information so we can ask questions. Then we're an effective scrutiny committee.
Yep.
That was our concern before, that's my concern at the moment. And so long as we have that, we're not expecting to run all the nuts and bolts of what's happening. We can't do that, nor will we seek to do that. But what we do want is sufficient information so we can do our job effectively.
Yeah.
I think that's basically what I was after.
Yeah, and that can be addressed in how this committee approaches its own improvement as part of the best value notice, but it also relates to obviously Middlesbrough and Hartlepool Development Corporation as well as South.
It does, and it relates to what specific information you will be providing, and that's really what. Thank you.
I think for me, Councillor Branson, it's when we look at your work programme going forward, whatever you want on there, we can then obviously work with you to make sure that you're getting the information you need for that specific area of work to enable you to do exactly what you've just described. So I think the work programme is really important, and then as officers we need to be able to provide you with the context, the background information you need to be able to scrutinise whatever you pick on your work programme.
Councillor McGill.
Thank you. How do you switch this on?
On, yes. On.
So,
Start, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. My impression reading this report is that there's been a distinct, at least public switch in the report from a rather mayor-centred culture to a much more collaborative planned culture for the organisation. How much is that going to be made public so that the public do recognise that there is a Tees Valley authority as well as a Tees Valley mayor?
I think you're absolutely right, and it's good that that's come across in the plan, because I think one of the things that came out from all the workshops is that we need to be operating as 6 authorities and not 1+5, and that's absolutely a commitment from me as interim chief exec and the mayor, that we want to work much more collaboratively. So obviously all this is going to be public. We're going to be very transparent around how we report on progress against the plan. The other thing we're doing that's picked up in there that I think is really important to note is we're really strengthening the roles of our cabinet portfolio holders. So we're doing a lot of work with the leaders around how we give them more ownership of their portfolios, how they work more closely with this committee, how they really shape those agendas. So there's a real shift, I think you're right, to pick up around how we work as a 6 as opposed to a 1 and a 5.
I think this is potential weakness though, isn't it? Because instead of an elected authority, what we have is leaders of the relative council, the responsible councils, and they have a responsibility to run their councils, and also to take on a major portfolio here. So this is a really potentially, well, I think the whole process is potentially unsustainable.
I guess that's why we're here as officers, to support those portfolio holders, and obviously we've got a strong support network, so they'll have a very strong team behind them. It's how other combined authorities work, so I think it gives more ownership to Cabinet, and it's one of the key things that's come out in terms of the feedback from Cabinet around how they want more ownership of their portfolios. But you're absolutely right, it is a resource commitment for those portfolio leaders, and it's our job as officers to support them in that and give them the support they need to be able to do that properly.
Incidentally, I'm not advocating complete reorganisation of local government locally.
Thank you. Councillor Littleton?
Thanks, Chair. I'm perfectly honest, when I first read this report, I was not impressed. It was like reading the Grove report again. There was lots of fancy words and lots of expectations, but nothing in it. I had to read it again, and oh yeah, it does, it is, and it isn't. But I still can't get my head around the differences that we will actually achieve and see in one respect from this document. It's ambitious because we go in my opinion, from a very low point to something that is needed. I've been around a long time and it's been difficult to get changes, but we've slowly moved on. This is a large step. I'm okay with it now, but only okay. But I've had to read a couple of times to get sort of feel for it. One of the things that does worry me is, and it's related to the relationship with the TVA and scrutiny, is you were going to identify 5 areas for scrutiny. There's no mention of what them areas would be, key focuses. And I'm thinking, oh, it'll be the transport, it'll be the, particularly like the ones we've already got for our scrutiny committees to work in. And then I thought, well, yeah, that's fine. But it doesn't give you a real feel of togetherness between scrutiny and officers and the authority with the work programme. I think one of the things we need to do, and I'm hoping that'll be at the meeting that's going to happen, that we can develop this relationship about our expectations, your expectations and reality. And I'm looking forward to that. But I still am not 100% convinced.
This committee that decides what it does in the work programme. It's not, officers don't decide what we do in the work programme. This committee decides. So we decide to investigate anything, then that's what we'll do.
Right. I'm not being impolite,
Yep.
but that's not what's happened in the past.
But
That's, you know, I didn't want to go back to the past. That's not what's happened. Which is why I'm saying, I hope at the meeting in the future, we develop this working better. I mean, it's good at the minute, but a better working relationship, an understanding of the needs of members, the needs for officers, and what can and can't be done. Now, it's time to get some clarity, but I think we're starting to get that. And that's the bit that pleases me, which means I think this committee can be stronger, far more proactive, and deliver on that.
Yeah, Tom?
But that's a conversation we need.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The plan is words, and it's on me and the rest of the organisation to deliver against it, and we'll be judged by yourselves, by Cabinet, by government, and by our local government association improvement board as to whether we make the necessary changes. So you're absolutely right. We're going to be the proof's in the pudding. There's an absolute clear commitment in that plan to work much more collaboratively with scrutiny and all of our statutory committees to make sure that they are empowered to do their jobs properly, and that's on us as officers, giving you what you need. Obviously the plan is it sets out that commitment. In terms of your work plan, as the Chair said, it's very much for you to shape that with our support, and we'll give everything that you need to be as effective as you absolutely need to be to make sure that you're holding us to account.
That's music to my ears.
We can't change what's going on in the future, but we can absolutely change what will happen in the future. Sorry, in the past, and we'll absolutely change what happens in the future. And this plan is just the start of that. And I do genuinely see it as a reset. but absolutely we need to deliver against it, and if we don't, there'll be consequences of that.
I accept that, and through you, Chair, to be honest, it's been a level of frustration from scrutiny members about the work that we do, and I think we can be at a point in the future, September starting date, to change that, to raise our aspirations and abilities and achieve something, because I don't think, well, I can't say nothing to achieve, there's quite a lot as well, from a scrutiny member's point of view, to move on. Instead of being at each other's throats, we're critical friends, not the enemy.
Yeah.
Let's work together.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thanks for that. Councillor Manson?
Yes. If we have a look at the plan itself, item 2, final, part 2 is basically all about strengthening governance, oversight and accountability, which is basically what our function is. It's back to really what I was saying earlier in terms of what information we get. And one of the things that I noticed down here is the very final point. Review the format, effectiveness of the existing audit and governance statement in accordance with the SIPA requirement. Now, if we're looking at that, are we looking at the way in which the authority is structured, or are we looking at the financial aspects of the authority's actions? Not quite clear that, because the word audit and governance can be confusing. Audit is an accounting term. So are we in effect here looking at making sure that we get sufficient information in order to see what the organisation is doing as required by SIPA, in which case I'll be quite happy, or are we looking at how the organisation is structured? Is that clear?
Yeah, so there's a couple of actions in there, Councillor Branson. So the audit and the statement itself, the action you refer to, is a sort of standalone piece of work around how we make sure that those statements are right.
Yeah.
But obviously with the issues we've had in terms of the statutory audit letter around our financial position,
Yeah.
there's another action in there around how we make sure we've got a robust and sustainable finance function going forward. So it's absolutely looking about, as an organisation, how we are equipped to make sure that we make the improvements necessary. But that specific action is around an audit and governance statement that Emma might just want to come in on.
So firstly you should say annual governance statement, or audit and governance statement, so make sure that's corrected. An annual governance statement is a statement that's required by all public authorities to publish each year with the draft financial statements, and that commences the public inspection period of the draft financial statements, and then again with the final financial statements. The way it works here, and I believe the way it works in other combined authorities and local authorities, is that the draft annual governance statement is presented to the Chief Executive and Chair of the relevant board or decision-making entity, so that's Cabinet and the boards for the development corporations, and it's considered by the Audit and Governance Committee as a draft prior to it being published as a draft, then considered again with the draft financial statements, and then again as a final with the final financial statements. It's a backward-looking document, but so it looks at how governance has performed in an organisation for the previous, and it's based on a financial year, so we've just done the annual governance statement for 24-25, which ends that financial year. But its intention is to look at how governance can be improved over the next financial year, and then the hope is that your next annual governance statement will see improvements over that year. So that's what the document is. It's presently approved by our Audit and Governance Committee and then Cabinet. So the action in the organisation improvement plan is to look at the format of the annual governance statement, make sure it captures everything that it should do, make sure it addresses any governance weaknesses in the organisation, so that they can be addressed in the following financial year.
Yeah, and I think from my point of view, obviously that information is relevant to us, because what I was talking about earlier, instead of being reactive, we can be proactive, but to be proactive, we've got to have information.
Absolutely.
And this provides us with information we wouldn't otherwise be able to get.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So if any weaknesses are identified, it might be something that you want to look at as a committee. Absolutely.
Councillor Angel?
Thank you. Forgive me for being a bit simplistic, but just following up on what Councillor Branson just said, isn't the basic financial scrutiny that we should be involved in a process where a budget is set, there are several items on this, and it's then put into practice, and the role of scrutiny to ensure proper accountability and presumably proper financial management references as well, is to look at each individual project and say, what's the process that's been done, and what's the action that's been done, and how far have we got? Are they, and also of course, have they kept within the budget, or have they overspent, have they underspent, and so forth. Simplistic, but essential to ensure that public money is being spent on what was actually authorised for it to be spent upon. Isn't that what we should be doing?
Well, we have to be careful.
Wherever it's just, let me continue, just backing up again some of the points that Councillor Branson made on, wherever that public money is spent within the orbit of the Tees Valley Combined Authority.
But we have to be really careful about not duplicating what audit are doing. The audit committee, actually what we've actually done through Connor is we're going to meet with the audit committee chair and to make sure that we're not duplicating the same things.
I don't think what I'm saying is about duplicating the audit. It's actually checking up on whether the authorities don't plan to do financial.
Yeah, I understand that. What I'm saying is that obviously if the audit committee are doing that, then you know, there's probably no need for us to do it. But I get what you're saying, and I don't know if anyone's got any comments on that.
Yeah, I think absolutely ensuring that we're driving value for money through every project is absolutely within the remit of this committee. Audit and governance, I guess, are more around our statutory obligations around finance, governance and risk. But if this committee wants to assess the value for money of any of our projects, programmes, then that's absolutely within your right to do that.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a piece of work to make sure that I get there's a level of nervousness in this committee to make sure that you're looking at what you should be looking at, and that something doesn't fall between the gaps. That's what I'm getting from you, Councillor Nightingale. So there's potentially something around us making sure that you're aware of the remit of Audit and Governance Committee and have a level of comfort that they're doing what falls within their terms of reference, that you can get on and do your job, and that all bases are covered effectively. So there's no harm in us as part of this process, once we review the terms of reference of Audit and Governance Committee, to share that with this committee so that you're aware of what that committee's doing, and there's no harm in you understanding their work programme either, so that you've got an oversight, not an oversight, but an understanding of what it is they're doing throughout the financial year as well.
I mean, all I'm basically saying is you've got a budget, you get action, and then you need to check.
Yeah.
It's just those three things.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah, Councillor Guzzi.
Thanks, Jay. Just on the point of finance, what we've got to remember is that the Tees Valley Combined Authority budgets are different to our local authority budgets, and we haven't quite worked out the right way to look at the Tees Valley Combined Authority budgets, because it talks about investments and other stuff. You're not looking at a line about potholes or social services and stuff. So one of my suggestions would be is if we could get, we do it, people don't like it, a training session to bring members up to date. I don't want them to compare the differences, but we as members need to understand the difference in our local authority budget to the difference in this budget and how we look at it. And so then give us a better insight on things that Councillor Nightingale raised and how we can do that.
Yeah, I think we've got agenda item 6, which we'll see later on, includes some training. Yeah. Councillor Oden?
So I thought Tom was going to respond there.
Oh, right, okay.
Just a very quick one. We've already had a similar conversation with Cabinet around how we can potentially make some of our budget reporting simpler and presented in a different way to assist to assist members in terms of how you want to interpret the information. So that's sort of a work stream that we're already progressing, but we can absolutely follow it up with this committee.
Thanks, Chair. It's just an observation on page 33 of the papers, and it's a paragraph that begins resetting political and governance dynamics. And there's comment within that paragraph, and it says, basically better support and respect for politicians from officers, including advice from the TVCA statutory officers. I don't recognise that as politicians here we're getting disrespect from officers. I think it's more respect and support. So I'm wondering if we can focus in on where that comment is derived from, because it's never been raised in certainly this forum, I don't think, you know. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've never spoken to anyone that says it's been.
I'm just surprised that a comment like that can be all encompassing, and I don't recognise it.
Yeah,
No, I think it's a really good point, Councillor Reid, and I think what we're trying to get across there is around more of the support and making sure, I think it's particularly come around about making sure that Cabinet portfolio holders are supported and empowered to actually lead. So I think you're probably right, the word respect probably just needs looking at, so I'll take that away and actually reflect that, because I think you're right, it's not about us not respecting politicians, it's more around the support networks and that they're empowered to fulfil their roles. So I'll take that away, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, well, I think what we need to do is we need to do a few things. First of all, we need to note the update in respect to the Tees Valley Combined Authority best value notice. So I presume that we've discussed it, so I presume that we've noted that update now. And move on, we need to endorse the Tees Valley Combined Authority Organisational Improvement Plan, which is the 13-page document that we've all been sent previously. So I think it's a show of hands for that, to endorse this improvement plan. So all in favour, please. Any against? No abstained?
Still working it out.
Okay. Well, I think that's the majority.
I'll go with the crowd.
Okay, all right, thank you. So that's unanimous. Thank you. We also need to note that the Cabinet will be asked to improve the organisational improvement plan and the independent advisory board membership, terms of reference and reporting arrangements when it meets on the 27th. So we only need to note that, as if everyone knows that. And again, we need to approve the proposed approach to its own involvement in the Tees Valley Combined Authority improvement journey as detailed in paragraph 20.2 of this report. I don't think we need to vote that, do we?
Yeah, I mean, the committee, we do need you to approve it, but
Right.
it's based on the fact that the proposal in the paper is to meet with this committee in advance of its meeting in September, because we meet in September is all about work plans, that's looking forward. So we'd like to meet with you between now and September to look at how you want to frame your own scrutiny of this process, so we can prepare some documents and prepare some ideas to share with the committee in advance of that. It'll be a workshop style, so that everybody can have their input.
So we need to approve that, so again, it needs to go to vote. So all in favour?
Before you do that, I have no problem with approving it. Can we put in about an arrangement to work together on the improvement? I know it sounds daft, but I would like it in writing.
Yeah.
On the informal.
Okay. Thank you. We'll show hands that we're going to approve this. Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll move to 5 in the final report of the Overview Scrutiny Education, Employment and Skills Committee. Sadly, Rachel hasn't been able to attend this meeting. So hopefully everyone's read the papers. I'll skim through. We have some recommendations. I think there's 4 recommendations from the report, and I'll go through them. First of all, does anyone have any questions on the report? No, thank you. We'll go for the recommendations, and the recommendations, 1 is to note the report and supplement the appendix. 2 is to approve the recommendations of the Education and Employment and Skills Subcommittee as detailed in paragraph 4 to 6, which I believe we've all had, and adopts the recommendations 1 and enacts the amendments required to the terms of reference to include the provision, and agrees to the request of Cabinet when receiving recommendations 2 as detailed in paragraph 7 and 9. Is that clear to everybody? Yeah, thank you. So can we approve that report, please? Show of hands again, sorry. Thank you. No one against. Thank you very much. We don't have on the agenda any other business, but I'm going to bring Ian in now, who's got a question to ask Councillor Leesley.
Thank you, Chair. I circulated a document for everyone on the table. I'm not going to raise that document as such because I've already spoken to the Chair and he's agreed to take that away and work with officers to give us a response to that. So I don't think we need to get into the debate about the information on that at the moment, and I think it's a better use of time if we let the Chair do that. But I also received from, some members might have had it, we also received an email with some questions on that I said I would ask. I'll read them, I have nothing to do with them, I'm asking them on behalf of the residents. The question one is, are the statutory STDC meetings being recorded? The meeting on the 10th of the 6th, 25 hasn't been uploaded to YouTube. If they're not being recorded, why is this?
Yeah.
I received an email late last night from a member of the public asking that question, so I haven't yet responded because it was early this morning, not late last night. So I have had that question.
You might have had the same email.
Very possibly. I will respond to it, I just haven't yet. So no, they're not being recorded yet. So the decision to record meetings was taken by TDCA Cabinet. I think we need to remember that these separate public bodies. We will be, you're all aware that the Mayor has stepped down as Chair of the 3 development corporations. So the proposal is that we speak with the new Chair, once appointed, to South Tees Development Corporation, and take to South Tees Development Corporation, Middlesbrough Development Corporation, Hartlepool Development Corporation, the proposal to record meetings, but at this moment in time they're not being recorded, but there is a proposal to record or take a recommendation to the relevant boards to record once the new chairs are imposed.
Thank you. Second question, the 28 recommendations said the 19%, 10% deals to be renegotiated. Julie's report did not reassure of this attempt was with any commitment, and I'd like the Overview Scrutiny to exercise its right to bring John Barnes in to discuss what he's doing about the renegotiation of the 1910 deal. Before I ask you to answer that, I saw the report about what Julie tried to do. So I know there's already been some issues responded. But as I say, it's not my question.
If this committee want to look into that further, then that's what this committee can do. Again, that's for future time. We can't really answer, as I say, the question as far as I'm concerned has been answered. If people aren't happy with the answer, then if this committee is not happy with the answer, then certainly investigate further. But that's, again, something that this committee has to agree on.
Yeah. The third question, to be fair, will be answered when you look at that document I circulated, so I don't ask that. But my final point is, and it comes from the last meeting. When we finished the question time with Mayor Housing, Sonia and I left out there, and I engaged in a conversation with some of the people at the back, only to turn around and see a very burly, a bit smaller, he wasn't him, a bit smaller than him, security guard, loitering, hovering in the edges, which perturbed us greatly. When I asked why, I was told because people inside the building feared for our safety. Anybody that knows me, that's not really a worry with safety. And Emma did come out, and Emma said the same. But a bit concerned that the level of security here is as it is. Why is it that sort of level? And the security guard that stands in here, the Mayor's question, and the body cam, what's that used for? Is that deleted or is it shown?
I'll start. I suppose the reason why we need security is because obviously we've got a duty to look after our staff and also to make sure that the Mayor is protected. So that's why we have security at public meetings. In terms of the specifics of what happened at last meeting, I obviously wasn't here. I mean, I'm happy to take it away. We can talk to colleagues around exactly what happened and what your experience of that was. So that's probably the best thing. If I take it away, Councillor, and come back to you, and I'll speak to the company that we're using to do the security, and I'll provide you with a response.
I'm not saying it wasn't appreciated as such, but it didn't feel comfortable.
This is the question, doesn't it?
You know, I mean, to be fair, I don't feel unsafe walking out there. I don't know why. There were only 4 of them. We weren't out because Sonia was with me.
sorry, there were 4 members of the public, and they started to speak to myself and Ian, and I happened to look round, and I saw the security guard, and he was getting closer and closer, and I said, what's he doing? And then
That's
he
not what
looked
you
round
said.
and saw him.
I think it is appropriate for Tom to speak to the security company, see exactly what happened, and we'll get a reply from them. I mean, I wasn't here, and so we can't surmise what they were doing. I think
It
we
made
need
us
to.
both feel that we couldn't talk to the members
Okay.
of the public who were being overheard and overlooked.
But we'll ask staff to get a report of exactly what happened, and we'll hopefully we'll email members. And
Nothing against the security, they were doing their job,
yeah.
they were doing their job, that was fine, you know.
Just a final point, can I thank the chair and the members for the invitation? And allow me that 2 minutes more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think at the last meeting, we did talk about security, and I, as a member, did say it's very important that it is in place, and I welcome the security in this building as a member of this committee, and I think I said it, as a member of this committee.
Yeah, I think the issue is outside the building rather than inside the building.
I appreciate that, but it's...
We don't disagree with you.
No, it's a whole... It's very important, though, that we see both sides, and I tried to put the other side at the meeting last time, and I do feel that we do, as elected members, sometimes need a certain level of security.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Thank you.
But we'll go to the security company and we'll get a report, and then hopefully can we reply to all members, please? Okay, thank you. Anybody else? No. Thank you. We'll go to number 6. Date and time of next meeting. Obviously we can't do that until the TBC AGM have confirmed the membership, and they'll also confirm the meeting schedule. Okay, anyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll go to training again. Obviously members will be invited to a training sessions coming up with the Centre for Security and Governance, is it?
CBS.
Scrutiny, in advance of the September meeting, so they'll hopefully will all, so no doubt we'll meet again before September for the AGM. Okay, thank you. Has anybody got anything else?
Chair,
Yeah.
could that be possibly done on Teams?
It's never been told.
Let me ask. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, that'd be good.
Appreciate the commitment.
That Ed will come down or
Ed, can we do it?
yes, Ed, it's the intention of Ed to do it, but we will make sure that there's a Teams revision as well.
Yeah, we'll certainly try and get it on Teams.
Or hybrid?
Yeah.
We'll try to save the workshop as well.
Do we have a date for that?
No.
Not, right, okay.
As soon as we got the date, somebody will email.
Because it's obviously it's a difficult time because a lot of people are on holiday at various times. So I can imagine that whatever date you choose, there'll be somebody that can't get there.
If it's hybrid, we'll look at recording it as well. Obviously, we'd like people to be there to be able to contribute. But if there's one member who's away, we'll look at recording it as well.
Yeah, because I mean, I think you'd be lucky to get a date in August where you don't have a member who is on holiday somewhere. And so I fancy you might have to have a means of getting, either having another meeting or alternatively a person seeing and recording the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll make sure we action getting dates for both the workshop and the training as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes the business. I'll close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a pension meeting.